Looks like most of the people that said they could come are here. Would you like me to do a quick start on what I want to say, or do you want to get started, Cynthia?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, great. Well, thanks everybody for being here. This certainly is an important meeting. Appreciate everybody joining us. The HSI 3 group has done a great job pulling all of this together. And we will be taking a recording of this. One of the things I just wanted to emphasize, especially to the HSI, the regional hub leads, we are meeting again tomorrow. I believe it's at 10 o'clock tomorrow. So just know that that's an intentional invitation. It's specifically just for the regional hub leads. So there are 8 of you. And we want to just prepare for our first meeting with all of the HSI and with all the HSI and emerging HSI members, which we'll do on December 3rd. So I just wanted to clarify that because I got a couple of questions. So we're glad to have you here for this foundational orientation, and I'll leave it up to Cynthia and the team, Cynthia and Melissa and the team on this training. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Caroline. Thanks everyone for joining us today. And thanks especially to the HSI 3 team for rallying and getting this content together. I will keep going. We're all set to provide to you a really exciting set of activities and concepts that we believe are foundational to the All Rise Alliance. And so what we see here on this slide is today's menu. And basically, I consider today to be sort of like the appetizer course of a menu, and we will certainly have opportunities to dive into the details of the main courses and sample more substantial workshops for each of the foundational topics and concepts that we're going through today. So just to let you know that this is the beginning of this incremental journey that we are going to be taking together as a part of the All Rise Alliance. So we'll spend some time at the beginning getting to know our group and getting to know each of you and your role in the All Rise Alliance. And then we'll get into the learning objectives for the day. And then after that, we'll start framing some of the key concepts, beginning with identity and intentionality. And then item 4 is really the meat of what we're doing. And we'll have some activities at that point where we'll ask you to provide some inputs. And then the final wrap up, where we want to get some ideas from you on the types of resources that you need to continue in this work as we go through the remaining 5 years of the All Rise Alliance. So what is the HSI 3 group? And this is just a glimpse into who we are and our role in All Rise. We'll each introduce ourselves, proceeding through the chart here, sorry. And I'll start out. My name is Cynthia Pickering. I'm a co-PI on the All Rise Alliance and the co-lead of the HSI 3 group with Melissa Salazar. I'm based at ASU right now, working for Caroline. And we all put a little bit about ourselves, our expertise, and perhaps some additional links to more information about ourselves. So I'm the person who architected the evidence-based student-serving STEM framework that we'll be using throughout this alliance, more specifically with the EHSIs and HSIs to assess where they're currently at, create plans, and then work on implementation of those plans throughout an improvement science cycle. And I'll turn it over to Melissa, and then we'll just keep going around the diagram.
Thank you, Cynthia. Buenos dias, everyone, and good afternoon to some of you who are on East Coast. My name is Dr. Melissa Salazar, and I'm here in Española, New Mexico. And I am the co-founder of Escala Educational Services, which is a consulting agency that has been working specifically with HSIs for the last almost 10 years. This is our 9th year that we are finishing up, and I'm happy to say that we've partnered with 52 over those 9 years. So I'm happy to be part of this team and also to be meeting some new people through this grant. So thank you so much for allowing us the opportunity to talk to you today.
And I'll cover for Ira. This is Cynthia again. Ira is in another meeting right now with the Excellencia team. They are actually doing a 3-month follow-on to a STEMS Institute that was held earlier this year with 7 institutions of higher education. And so that's a little bit of like the type of thing that we'll be doing within All Rise in terms of these follow-up discussions. So Ira is a PhD. She's from Excellencia in Education, and she's Vice President of Institutional Capacity. Her area of expertise is Latino student access and success, as well as equity-centered practices. And she works very much with Hispanic serving institutions. Mara, do you want to go ahead next?
Yeah, buenos dias, everyone. My name is Dr. Mara Lopez. I am a part of the HSI3 team and a research program manager working at the Center for Broadening Participation in STEM at ASU. My research is centered on equity in education, social justice in education, and culturally responsive pedagogical practices.
And Tammy?
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Tammy Coronella. I work as the Director of Student Success and Engagement at Arizona State University in the Ira A. Fulton Schools of Engineering. My research has really focused on asset-based approaches through the scholar practitioner lens. So how can we implement asset-based approaches in supporting students in their pursuit of a STEM degree with some of these student activities, student support, academic advising services. And so I'm very excited to be part of this group, and we'll be working specifically on with staff and administrators and those supporting these programs in delivering asset-based approaches. So thank you and welcome.
Janet?
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Janet Rocha. I'm a research assistant professor at Northwestern University and excited to be part of this excellent group. My work focuses on better supporting students of color in higher education, specifically in STEM medicine arena, and through an asset-based framework.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Lindsay Romasanta. I serve as Assistant Vice President of Global Diversity and Inclusion at Portland State University, and also as the inaugural co-editor of the Journal of First Generation Student Success. My research interests are supporting BIPOC students to thrive, persist, and succeed in all of their aspirational goals using anti-deficit approaches. And I also have an interest in supporting scholar practitioners coming from diverse backgrounds to continue to navigate the hidden curriculum beyond being a first generation student, but also as a first gen professional. It's great to be in community with all of you.
And then we co-opted Anna to work with our group, but she also has other roles on the All Rise Alliance.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Ana Tanguma Gallegos, and I'm the research program manager for the All Rise Alliance. I'm also the All Rise Alliance regional hub manager. So I'll be working with a lot of the sub award leads and the manager, the members of the HSI, EHSI. My research interest is integration technology. So I did a lot of migrations prior when I left SFAZ. And I'm integrating that with workplace isolation and turnover intention.
Thank you, Anna. All right. So now we get to the part where we're going to ask you all to introduce you, and we'd like you to, say your name, what institution you're from, your role on All Rise, and something about yourself that you're known for in your day job outside of All Rise. Now, before we start that, I just wanted to call out, and I realize that this team has been meeting for at least a month and a half, I think it is, maybe a little bit longer, but I wanted to call out that we did overlay this All Rise organizational chart, if you will, with some of the things that we'll be doing as a part of the HSI3 team. So you'll notice that we put Anna right there in the structure that is connecting between the backbone and the different regional hubs, because she is in that role of managing the regional hubs and coordinating among them. And then there will be at least 2 of the HSI3 team members who will work specifically with regional hubs as point people for some of the workshops and other resources and capabilities that we're going to be getting into over time as we proceed with this alliance. So I just wanted to show that we have Mata and Lindsay on the Western Hub, myself and Janet on Southwestern. And because the Southwestern and Eastern hubs are a little bit smaller right now, Janet and I are covering those until it gets to the size where it's a larger mass, and we'll figure out how to divide up the work at that point. And then Tammy, Ira, and Melissa are with the South Central Hub, and some of this is geographical in nature as well. So why don't we go ahead and start at the top. Caroline, do you want to go ahead and give your name, your institution role on All Rise, and something you'd want to share with us about why you're in the grant and what you do outside of the day job?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'll lead I'm the director of the Center for Broadening Participation in STEM. It's the new name to the center that really speaks to what it is that we do. And I'm the PI of this All Rise Alliance. And I'm thrilled to be able to, from the All Rise Alliance perspective, is to create a platform for this work and for the researchers that all these PhDs are doing. I couldn't be happier to create an opportunity like this, and really hope we can develop and grow what we're starting here with all of you. Outside of All Rise, not much else really. I'm really working and enjoying what I'm doing with the center and all the projects we have, really to support the and influence students to go into STEM from all walks of life. So thank you.
Okay, great.
Really thrilled to have you here.
Thank you. And we probably want to cover all the backbone members that are in attendance today. I'm just looking through the chart here. It looks like we have Philip.
Shayna's here, and Deborah, and Phil.
And Margaret's here as well.
Margaret, thank you.
Okay. So Shayna, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. Good morning, everybody. I am Shayna McCabe, and I am part of the backbone team with the All Rise Alliance, the project coordinator for All Rise, and I'm the administrative specialist for the Center for Broadening Participation in STEM. I'm going on, I think, a month and a half now of becoming part of both teams. So it's been very exciting, and I'm learning a lot. It's a different environment for me, but so far I'm enjoying it. And outside of work, similar to Caroline, not a whole lot. I have a daughter, 2.5, who's going to be 2.5 this month, and very family oriented. And just, I think a fun fact about myself is I am a coffee connoisseur. But that's about it. It's nice to meet you all.
Thank you. Phil, how about if you go next?
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Philip Tarrant. I'm the Research Data Management Officer for the University of Arizona State. And my team is supporting this project by helping with the research technology needs and the survey and data collection.
And Deborah.
Hello, I'm Deborah Robbins. I'm also on Philip's team researching data management at ASU, working mostly with Anna on different tools for surveys and data management. On a side note, for my away from work job, I am the chairman of the Institute of Certified Records Managers Mentoring Committee. That's what I do for fun.
Okay, and then Margaret. Margaret Birch.
Sorry, just one moment. Here we go. Yeah, I'm a finance manager at Arizona State University. I'll be helping with coordinate payments to suppliers and preparing financial reports for Caroline. As far as outside ASU, since the weather is finally really nice here in Arizona, I enjoying doing a lot of landscaping and getting my yard in order and straightened out. So that's about it.
Thanks, thank you. Caroline, did you want to say something quick about advocacy and policy on behalf of Excelencia?
Oh, yeah, they're their own subgroups. They're really not part of the backbone.
Right, we're giving off the backbone.
Deborah Santiago is the CEO of Excelencia in Education, and her chief of staff, Joanna Sanchez, and then of course Ira Perez, who is really working on the HSI3 team. The policy component is really going to be led by Deborah and Joanna, and they'll be meeting on probably an annual basis with all your all our members, and finding out what works well. And their philosophy is to create policy based on best practices. So that's what we're going to be doing, is working on what best practices do we find are most effective, and then they'll work around that. So they'll be in touch with us throughout this journey.
Great, thank you. Let's just continue on around the clockwise direction and go to the research and evaluation team next. So Felicia and Lucy are on that team if you want to introduce yourselves.
Hi, everyone. I just logged in. I apologize. I had another meeting run late. Felicia Herrera, Associate Professor at San Diego State and Director of the Research and Equity Scholarship Institute, excuse me. So are we just going around giving updates? Is this? Because I just logged in, I apologize.
Oh, we're just introducing ourselves to the HSI3 team. So name your role in All Rise, your organization, and something that has to do with your day job or outside of your day job, whatever you want to share.
And just for clarification, because I know a lot of us have been together, but there are key components of the members of the HSI3 team who have not met everybody. So that's
right.
Really important that we go through this.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so I'm working closely with Lucy, who's on the evaluation side, working on the research project and the research design of the overall project.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lucy Arellano. I'm an associate professor at Texas Tech University. Just landed here in Lubbock a couple of months ago after working remotely from afar, transitioning from previously Oregon State University. The fun fact I'll share is that I looked at a calendar the other day, and it's been 10 years since I finished my dissertation and 15 years since I've been studying Latinx student success. So I'm glad to serve as the external evaluator for the project, and you'll see me pop in and out of different circles here through the All Rise Alliance. Thank you.
Thanks. Next, we'll move to the work-based experiences subgroup, which is to the left of research and evaluation. I think Maria Reyes, you're the only rep here today from that group.
I am. Pleasure to be with you here today. My name is Maria Reyes. I'm the Dean of Industry and Public Service at Phoenix College, and happy to co-lead this effort with Steve Zylestra, who is the CEO of the Arizona Tech Council and a tremendous partner and helps to coordinate all of the other tech councils from the other states. So I don't know that he can be with us here today, but I certainly want to represent his work and his efforts and working with his colleagues and serving as a role model to the industry members that we reach out to try and bring forward not only the work-based experiences, but collaborate with Shelley and Robin to bring forward potential undergraduate research experiences or opportunities that these companies might participate in as well. When I am not working, I do love hiking, and as someone noted, in Arizona, the weather is getting much better, and so I've been out there hiking as well. So thank you. It's great to be with you.
Thank you. Moving on to the undergraduate research networks.
Hi, I'm Shelley Haydell. I'm the co-PI on the NSF Includes All Rise Alliance from the Undergraduate Research Network perspective. And it's a double-edged sword with Robin Cotter, who I'll ping pong to next at Phoenix College. Both of us have been very, very much interested in bringing undergraduate research experiences to all of our students. And so I met with Caroline and Cynthia several years ago, and somehow, some way they kept hold of me, and here I am in All Rise Alliance and trying to learn a lot about what's happening and what we're tasked to do, and trying to bring undergraduate experiences to 26 institutions and how to do that equitably, as well as thinking about the resources that the institutions will need in order to be able to do that. Outside of All Rise, I'm a professor at Arizona State University in the School of Life Sciences. I'm also the Associate Director of Undergraduate Programs in the School of Life Sciences, responsible for our 13, I think, undergraduate degree programs and 7,000 undergraduate students just within our school. I'm also a researcher, infectious disease microbiology researcher in the Biodesign Institute at Arizona State University. I have a lab of 12 young scientists, 4 research grants outside of NSF Includes. And so I kind of don't have much time for anything outside of work. And then I teach at ASU infectious diseases and microbiology. So I wish I could hike, but sometimes I don't leave until 7 o'clock at night. I'm not going to hike at 7, but one day I will. So happy to meet everyone here and to participate in this fantastic group. I have certainly been trying to leverage the information associated with All Rise across the academic side of ASU broadly, because I really think a lot of what we're doing and will be doing should be encouraged amongst the research grants that are being submitted through ASU and other institutions. So happy to spread the news, and I will ping pong to Robin, who is in the distance in her little black box.
Hello, everybody. I'm Robin Cotter, and as you can see, I'm about to teach. I teach microbiology and biology for majors at Phoenix College, and I'm a passionate advocate for undergraduate research experiences for students. This is especially important to me because I'm a first-generation student, and I know that the impact that doing undergraduate research experiences can have on a student. I am so happy and thrilled to be representing community colleges and undergraduate research experiences on this grant.
Thank you so much, Robin. Glad we got to you, and have a great class. All right, so now we'll move to the Western Hub. I believe we have Murad and Sylvia. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Sure, I'll go ahead. I'm Murad Mujahid. I'm the director of the MESA program at Southwestern College. On the All Rise project, we're serving as the Western Hub coordinators, and I will be serving as the lead and setting up the hub and connecting with our regional institutions with the outside All Rise, I've been working as director of MESA to support students transfer in STEM, and that's how I got to work with Cynthia and Anna and Caroline way back into probably starting 2018 as part of an NSF Kickstarter to build our capacity for grants like these. And so in collaboration with chemistry professors and math professors, we've been very fortunate to get some HSI STEM and STEM programs that we're running right now. And we're very happy to be part of this really large network, and looking forward to getting the direct benefits to our faculty and students. Outside All Rise, I do like hiking when I get a chance. I'm also a very busy parent, so they don't like hiking so much, those kids. But it's okay, we're working on it. Thanks.
Thank you, Murad. Moving on to Southwestern Hub, Catherine.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Catherine Mayorga. I'm at Phoenix College. I'm the, the Student Services Manager. I work with Maria Reyes, and I continue to learn every day in my job. I can tell you that what I'm probably known for on the campus is that I ask many, many questions on a daily basis from just about anyone who I think has an answer for me. And when I'm not working, I am the best walker in a running club. So everyone runs around me, in front of me, beside me, and I'm walking. So thank you.
Thank you. Kimberly.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Britt. I'm the Vice President for Academic Affairs at Phoenix College and working with the Southwestern Hub. Oh, outside of here, I do a lot of inspirational speaking for foster youth. I was a former foster youth, and so I have an interest in helping those who walk the path that I have become more successful.
Nice. Moving on to the South Central Hub, I believe we have Catherine.
Yes, good morning, or I guess good afternoon, everyone. My name is Catherine Beaumont Doss. I'm fortunate to serve as the VP of College Services at Palo Alto College in San Antonio, Texas. And yes, serving alongside my colleague, Erin Gonzalez, as a co-PI for the South Central Hub. Erin is our academic program director for our STEM Center. And I will say that out of all the grants that I've been fortunate to work with, this is the one that by far I'm most excited about, to really bring colleagues together, learn and grow and serve our students in the best way possible. So in my role as VP of College Services, I work with all of our auxiliary supports for the institution. So technology, data, capital improvement projects, our accreditation, and then grants as well. And outside of All Rise, I have two beautifully amazing children who are by far the best thing I've ever done with my life. They are 6 and 8 years old. I love them dearly. And I also enjoy being outside. So I'm going to Salt Lake City in December, and I'm going to do a snowshoeing activity under the stars. I have no idea what all that entails. I've never been snowshoeing, but I'm very excited to be out in the fresh air, and I'm just really looking forward to that trip, but also really looking forward to working with this grant and again, just supporting our students, not just at PAC, but across the US. So thank y'all.
Thank you so much. And then moving to the Eastern Hub, I believe we have Diego.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, so I'm Diego Tibaquira. I teach computer science at Miami-Dade College, one of the largest minority serving institutions in the country and Hispanic serving institutions in the country. HSI, we came about because I teach cybersecurity. I'm the lead faculty for the college, going across the United States, representing cybersecurity. And I came to a conference. I was presenting on it. Our grants are based on improving the numbers for underrepresented minorities in the field. But through that, I got to meet Caroline and Cynthia, and then the work that they were doing, and that's how I got involved with the Alliance, HSIs, and then we had taken it from there. As far as personally, I'm a girl's dad. I have 3 daughters. If I ever meet you, I have them all tattooed in my right arm, all captured at 1.5 years. I'm a former Marine, so tattooing came from my time in the Marines. And another thing that I do for fun, and I'm sorry, I am a runner. I run marathons. I have done ultra marathons, a max of 59 miles, a double crossing of the Grand Canyon. And I do triathlons as well. So for those of you that are running, the reason I run, and I run so far, is because the only time that I get, by myself, which the pandemic made it really hard because I was forced to buy a treadmill. But I'm going back out on Saturdays, and then in the week I stay home in the treadmill. But I'm doing 15 miles on Saturdays. I'm training to do a Dopey challenge in the Disney Marathon, 48 miles, raising funds for mental health. So we're doing, I'm a lead advisor for the Honors College. I'm the advisor of the Honor Society. So we do big projects like that. So looking forward to the work, looking forward to tomorrow. A little scared. Well, a big scare. I'm not going to lie. But, I trust Caroline, I trust Cynthia, and the entire team, incredible team put together. So I'm here, and to keep on doing the good work. So looking forward to it. And I'm sorry I have to leave because there is a thing for the college president at this moment.
Okay, we'll make sure you get the recording. Thank you.
Yes,
so much.
I saw the site, so I'll look at it. Bye, everybody. Nice to see you all. Nice to meet you all. And, we'll continue the work. Thank you.
All right. So I'm bringing up this slide. I know that we've all seen this and we've looked at it. I just wanted to use it to set the context for how the HSI3 group is involved in All Rise. And primarily, what our work has to do with is the second item that you see in the project vision and goals here. We are going to definitely go into some of these aspects today, the cultural responsiveness and intentionality. We also will be working quite closely with the regional hubs, the member HSIs and emerging HSIs, but those organizations themselves will be the ones that are demonstrating institutional intentionality. So I just have us a partial circle rather than a solid circle on goal number 4. And then we are also contributing to this notion of the network improvement community, but that is also something that is, a big responsibility of the backbone. So it's not, our charter alone from the perspective of the HSI3 group. And one of the important aspects of a network improvement community is that you're working in a large structure and you're looking to make change at a system level, not just at the level of a single institution. So the systems that All Rise aims to change are to, we see these 5 systems, and it's really the first 2 systems that, again, our HSI3 team is playing a big role in laying out some of the foundational aspects and learning that will help members of the entire alliance to become intentional and culturally responsive, and then work together to shift the mindset of people at the institutions and with ourselves, placing the necessity of change on the institutions and the educators rather than perceiving that it's something that the students need to change. We are looking to leverage the assets of the students, their strengths and their resilience, and create an environment where they can thrive and feel welcome. And we want that environment to be reproducible across the different institutions in the All Rise Alliance. So now I'd like to hand it over to Melissa, and she'll get into more specifics.
Thank you, Cynthia. Okay, so since we have been listening for a while, I'd like us to get active in the chat around some of the content that's on this slide. So Cynthia went through some of the background of the grant, which you've all probably read, and we're going to have to keep referring to it because this grant has a lot of complexity to it. There's a lot of moving parts. There's obviously a lot of people. So if you look at this subgroup, it actually took us probably 2 or 3 sessions for all of us to get to know each other as a subgroup. And just like today, you know, it's one of those things that's a process. So as we came together around these 3 things that we'd like to do with you, I'd like you to look at the 3 statements and see what is, use the chat to see what big concepts do you notice coming out of, and you can just type a word that you notice, a concept word or a phrase that you think is going to be a big idea for you. And especially if there's one that's like, you know, you don't really know that much about it and you want to know more about it, that's something fine to type in there as well. So I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to just reflect there silently and use the chat to just speak how you're feeling around any one of those 3. Looks like transformative agency is one thing really speaking to you. I've seen 4 of those so far. I like intentionalities in there. Anything else that speaks to your heart or one of the things you want to learn more about? Yeah, I love that identity. Ooh, I love that you picked out Shelley, movement on number 3. So that's going to necessitate, we need to know what that movement looks like, right? Okay, great. Thank you. And that's really where we ended up as well, is we spent 2 whole sessions of our subgroup talking about how we felt as transformative agents and debating what does it mean to have the identity, defining these things. How are we going to be showing movement? What do all of these things mean? Now, a lot of these are thrown around in the HSI world, and it's definitely a great time for us in the grant to be looking at some of these phrases more deeply so that we all come to some common understandings about what it is that we're trying to do together. How do we define these terms? And from the subgroup's perspective, we all come from very different places, you know, places around the country and organizations. So we had to spend some time doing that ourselves. So today's learning objectives, Cynthia, if you go to the next slide, is really to just get started right there with how are we going to understand how to do this work together and support you. How can we do and so today we've designed a few active activities for you to be able to discuss and think about the key terms and concepts. And we'll share with you in a minute what those are. And of course, this is just a start. So we're not expecting you to have super expertise on this, but we want you to definitely start digging into the concepts. Last thing we're going to do with you today is identify from you what resources you feel like you would like to have as very busy people. You just told us that you work 12 hours a day. So we want to make sure we have things that are available to you while you're at work. Hopefully maybe some podcasts that you're going to download while you're hiking. That's one thing that came to mind while everyone was talking about running. So we're going to collect that information from you hopefully by the end of today. So the last slide for me is just to notice that as you read through the grant, you'll see where our name pops up, the HSI3 group, and that it pops up across subgroups, but mainly to provide these foundational concepts. So that's really why we decided to focus today on looking at concepts and definitions and working definitions, so that this, as we go through the grant and the 5 years, we're all developing our expertise together and probably providing resources to other HSIs in the end on how to define these things in practice. It's with my work in HSIs, what's very difficult is that people want to do the work, they want to be intentional, they want to have an HSI identity, but they're seeking for what that really looks like. Like, how do we operationalize that? So that's one of the things that we think our subgroup will be really helping you do, is to collect those operational examples for you and give you guidance as you work with your HSIs and your EHSIs. So here we go. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Lopez, and she's going to share with you the concepts that we decided to work on with you today. Oh, actually, sorry, Cynthia's next. I apologize, Cynthia. You have a couple more things to do here.
No problem. So I'm going to do a quick framing of identity and intentionality, and then I'll turn it over to Dr. Lopez. So Hispanic serving identity, right now in the US government has defined Hispanic serving institutions as institutions of higher education who enroll 25%, who enroll at least 25% of Hispanic students full time. And there's other qualifications that they look at in terms of financial aspects. But what we're trying to do within this particular grant is change that notion of a Hispanic serving institution from one that is centered on enrollment, the 25% enrollment of Hispanic undergraduates, to an identity where they are focusing on equitable results in not only enrollment, but retention, graduation, and transfer either to the workforce careers or to, if we're at a community college, to baccalaureate degree programs or onward to graduate programs if we're talking about a 4-year institution. And so it's really looking at a more student-centered, student-serving approach. And that's the identity shift that we'd like to see in these Hispanic serving institutions. This includes student support strategies that are student-centered, the culturally responsive campus climate, strategies that leverage the strengths and address the needs of the students, and visible communication of their successes, not only internally, but locally, externally, and nationally. So we like to say, in the words of Excelencia, serving Latinx or Latinos is not to the exclusion of others and must ensure that Latinos are succeeding at the same rate as all students. And then the institutional culture of intentionality is one, again, drawing from the work that Excelencia has been doing, as well as other scholars. It has to do with looking at data and using data, as well as the practices that are involved in serving these students. So the data may be gathered as a part of these practices, or it could be institutional data about enrollment, retention, completion, and transfer. And then what are the leadership strategies that different organizations are pulling together, and how do these all three align, looking at the strengths and needs of the Latino students? So it's not enough to just say you've got a strategy or a vision to do this. You need to be, these practices need to be really institutionalized and supported, and we need to see the evidence that is being gathered in the data. We need to see the appropriate resources to get the work done, and we need to see the incentive systems. So the notion of intentionality is really based on the idea of student success and data that is evidence of the practices providing the practices achieving what implementations that were and interventions that we're trying to make. And I think intentionality also applies to each of us, especially when we think about the data aspect. As we are continuing with this alliance, where we want to make sure that we are looking at data, using the data to just to monitor whether the improvements that we're trying to make as an alliance are having the desired effect. And that's going to trickle down to not only the individual, but organizations, regional hubs, as well as the entire alliance. Now I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Mara Lopez, who will take us into the activity phase.
All right, so again, can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
So we'll be introducing.
Question, Dr. Lopez, before you launch. Cynthia, I'm wondering if you go back to those two pages, and I don't know if Ida is with us yet, and Noah's not either as well. Noah is not here.
No, they have a follow-up STEMS Institute meeting from the 6-month or 3-month follow-up with the 7 institutions.
Well, this illustrious team that's here, I'm wondering if which one of these statements says that we need to sometimes interrogate or investigate our structural frameworks that are in the way of achieving everything you've got here. Is there a specific bullet that we think says that?
I would say the practices, the first bullet, because it's talking about the alignment of data practices and leadership. So the practices are part of the structural, and the leadership is looking at the data and the practices and how they might need to make structural changes or resource changes in order to.
Okay.
Can you just switch to that slide, Cynthia?
I did.
It's right there. It's the top bullet. And so it says alignment of data and practices. And I think some of that, and I'm speaking from an HSI, and I'm my co-collaborator Robin is not here at this moment, but I think one of the things that Robin and I talk about is how do we identify and interrogate's not the right word, almost investigate the structural inequities that are foundational in our institutions, and how do we bring those to light so that we can align them. And I don't know, I didn't really hear it here, but I wanted to make sure we see it in one of these bullets, or that we know it's there, because like you say in the next bullet, it's not enough to declare that these practices need to be institutionalized. We need to really look at what are the structural frameworks that have gotten us to this point in order to kind of disaggregate and disassemble and create new. And I think that's part of the intentionality in these institutions as well.
Yeah.
Is the ability to kind of really look at ourselves and know leadership is knowing yourself well. So it's a leadership effort on the part of the institution.
Mm-hmm. And I think it also ties into this notion of a cycle of assessment, planning, implementation, monitor. So I think there's a little bit in the second bullet there too, because if you think of a strategic planning function, that's an opportunity to look at some of these structural issues and say, what's the data telling us? What do we think we needed to do to make some fixes?
I almost think this very amazing team of researchers can help us give us the permission to deconstruct some of the structural inequities and help us at the institutional level. So I guess I'm speaking from both sides of this to say, it's okay to identify something that's not working for all students and to really talk through it with our leadership about how we would rebuild it. And I think these bullets kind of get around that, but I also think we need to give permission to, or encouragement to.
That's a really good point. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you, Dr. Lopez, for letting me jump in.
No, it's a really important thing to consider, to think about, to implement, because we should be intentional in all aspects, right? So again, today we're going to introduce you to 4 foundational concepts: cultural responsiveness, asset-based mindset, transformative agents, boundary brokering, and network improvement communities. We'll provide first the definition and the lens with which we are viewing these concepts, and then we'll all go out into breakout rooms. In the breakout rooms, we'll provide you with a few prompts that'll encourage everyone to participate and also allow everyone in the room the space to participate. So in the spirit of voice equity, we might also ask you to maybe wrap up your thoughts so that others have the space to share their thoughts as well. But also, if you prefer to use chat or writing, you'll have an opportunity to put your thoughts and your opinions into the Google Doc that we'll provide when we go out into breakout rooms. So the next slide. So I want to frame this definition of cultural responsiveness as active. Being culturally responsive requires a persistent and intentional application that contributes to the constant development of culturally responsive practices. So it's not a static definition. So yeah, cultural responsiveness, it's a mindset, right? It's an attitude, it's a value system, it's active. It's not solely a set of practices, it's an ongoing educational process, and it requires a reflection, a critical reflection of your own practices. By being culturally responsive, we're responding to the student's needs, meaning our actions are always student-centered. We're always developing intercultural competence at every level and every position that we hold within these academic institutions. Geneva Gay defined culturally responsive pedagogical practices and teaching as using the cultural knowledge, prior experiences, frames of reference, and performance styles of ethnically diverse or culturally diverse students to make their learning experience more effective for them, and in an effort to create equitable classroom or learning environments. Next slide. So again, we want to help you shape your understanding of what this is and how you might apply this within your context, local context, situated context. So I highlighted here some things you might do if you were being culturally responsive. So you'd allow students to share their lived experiences in the classroom, connect those lived experiences to the learning. So for example, I've been teaching at ASU for the last couple of years. I start my class with a culture share. It's a quick, like 1 slide, Google slide, where everyone introduces who they are, what the culture means to them, you know, humanizing the space is how I start every course. The next thing you might do is ensure that the learning in the classroom is inclusive. This goes from the verbiage, the language in the curriculum, the examples in the lecture, the examples in the activity, what scholars you're citing, and the assignments as well. And then for all of us, educators, leaders, managers, data folks, everybody, create an opportunity to be mindful, create an opportunity for mindful reflection. So how are you ensuring that you're creating equitable spaces for your students? What can you do to engage students' level of knowingness or prior knowledge in the classroom? Okay, so now we'll go out into, with all this information shared, we'll go out into our breakout rooms, and I provided a snippet of the definition in the breakout rooms as well.
You're fine.
I was like, ah. All right, is everyone back? Yeah. Well, thank you so much, everyone. The information that you shared in the Google Docs will be used in the future to provide more intentional training sessions centered on these foundational concepts in the future. Melissa, would you like to go next? Dr. Salazar?
Thank you. And that was really fun. Even though it was a short breakout, I thought we had a lot of nice thoughts around that. And again, this is just a beginning process. Our thinking around these breakouts was just to see where are people at, what are they thinking about right now, so that we can start developing bigger and better spaces to talk about them in a deeper way. So this is not the only time you'll have to talk about culturally responsive work. And so this is not the only time you'll talk about this one either, but this is one of my favorites, asset-based mindset. We had some discussion earlier in this workshop about intentional shifts and things that need to be dismantled. And one of them is deficit narratives around Latinx students. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we've experienced that in our programming with our HSIs in Escala, and how we think this will benefit for you to be noticing and seeing how you can be the transformational agent if you can see this bubbling up in your own work. So in the next slide, I'm going to break apart an image that I found off Teacher to Teacher, one of my favorite sites for images. And I broke the image apart into 3 parts. So I have 3 slides I'd like to share with you one at a time. So I'm going to show you, this is a pretty common image. Many of you have probably, you can even do your little raise hand or give me a signal if you've seen this before, where equality and equity are transposed using like this box metaphor. And the boxes are resources that you're providing to different students, right? So this is a really early version of how we started to talk about equity, I would say like 10 years ago. And it's still pretty pervasive. I still see it in other workshops, but it's one that we realized early on, and a lot of other people critique this image as well when we used it in workshops, saying, this doesn't feel good. This feels like students are the problem. And that's exactly what was difficult about this metaphor, is that students have problems and that we need to do something to fix them. And Maria, this goes right back to your original statement that once we start structurally thinking that the work we're doing in HSIs is to fix students because they have deficits, then our equity only goes so far. Students know this narrative about themselves. They have been told it for many years in K-12. So they arrive at their HSI already suspecting what, imposter, and do I belong here? All these sense of belonging studies show that this is a common pattern for our Latinx students. And this is how it looks. This is how it sounds in an HSI or in a conversation. Oh, well, they just don't care. Well, the families, they really don't value education. So you've probably heard these things. And they bubble up because of frustration around not knowing what to do and having it feel like an immutable problem. Okay, so that's the initial equity. I want to go one step down now. So let's go to the next slide. So in the next slide, you're going to see that, and am I on the right slide here? Okay, so the next slide down is that you're looking a little bit deeper. So this is like a stage that an HSI might get to, or you might get to in your work, where you're starting to say, wait a second, there's something wrong with the ground. It's not the student that's the problem. It's that the ground is shifted underneath our students. They're under-resourced educational systems. They didn't have the same opportunities as other students. So now people are starting to talk like things like opportunity gaps. Achievement gaps are not on the student, but an opportunity gap. What opportunity did that student have to learn this, right? So this is where people start making those structural bias and cultural bias questions in their HSIs. So this is kind of a level that goes deeper. And people start asking questions like, why do I grade students the way I do? I wonder who's benefiting from the strategies I'm using. Do I have bias in my teaching? So this is where bias becomes a really big part of the discussion. And then the last one is where, and again, Maria, I keep picking on your comment because it was so rich, this is where people are now trying to move in their intentionality in HSIs, is how can I incorporate students? You heard from Dr. Lopez earlier, how do I actually incorporate students' experiences in the learning that's going on, in what's happening in this educational environment? How do I make this meaningful to where students are coming from? Not my own meaning, but what is their meaning for this learning? How can I honor language and bilingualism and trilingual? Many of our students are trilingual. How can I validate that instead of saying that that's a deficit, that they're English learners, or however we have been phrasing that? How can I foster a connection instead of competition within my environment? So this is the liberatory education that we are looking for in HSIs. So this means necessarily we need to take an asset-based approach. We cannot go back to the beginning and say, well, what services can we plop into our HSIs to make it better for them? And then not really look deeper at the structures that they were trying to navigate in the first place. Okay, so that's my quick overview. We're gonna head to breakout, same teams. So we'll be all together again. I'll see you back in about 5 minutes.
It's like alarming. It just kicks you out of it.
Don't you love that our little particles just get whizzed around the internet? I know it's a little disconcerting. I heard about it. Like people are like, whoa, I feel tired when I keep going in and out. But man, look at all the great conversation we can have in 5 minutes. So
sure.
I love that even though it's short, we're still getting somewhere. So hopefully you realize these thoughts will be brought back to us. We're going to look at all the group's thoughts and create more substantive, much deeper dive into these ideas. But I did give you some references for thinking about asset-based thinking. Okay, turning it over to Tammy. She's going to switch us around again to another concept that's awesome, just amazing. I love this one. All right. Tammy and team, take it away.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Salazar. So my colleagues, Dr. Rocha and Dr. Romasanta and I have been working on these ideas of what does it mean to drive, support, manage transformation, and then what are the competencies and skills? So I'm presenting this first definition of transformative agent, which I borrowed from two amazing scholars themselves, to think about how an agent, as defined by Stent and Salazar, is an individual with positionality, authority, and power that can act on someone's behalf. And so an agent can be a leader in a formal position, or could also have an informal position of authority or power. And a transformative leader, as defined by Shields, explicitly centers equity and elements of inclusion and social justice. So combining critique, which I think Maria was referencing, how do we critique? How do we drive deep and equitable change, deconstruct and reconstruct, acknowledge power, emphasize achievement, focus on liberation, and find the moral courage and activism to act as a transformative agent. And so I will invite Dr. Romasanta to discuss boundary brokering for a moment.
Thank you so much, Dr. Coronella. So essentially, when we're thinking about this concept of boundary brokering, it's really centering this idea that we know to be a transformative agent, to be a scholar practitioner, whatever it is your role is, your localized situation, and whatever your sphere of influence may be, we recognize that there's particular skill sets, savviness, and a multi-voiceness that's required to navigate multiple boundaries and different worlds. So one of the pieces that we'll be able to do in future trainings is really equip our local folks, right? All of the different partners involved with this grant to think about within their localized context, what are the toolkits, skill sets, the confidence, the bravery, to really be able to navigate how is it that we make these optimal transformative changes, right? We have big, wicked problems that we're trying to address, from a leaky STEM pipeline to making sure that we're addressing not just equity, diversity, inclusion, but justice and liberation, like Dr. Salazar said. So to be able to do that, we need to make sure that our transformative agents can navigate the multiple boundaries and worlds that they sit in and have the skill sets to be able to do so. So that's essentially what boundary brokering represents.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And we look forward to, so unfortunately with time, we're going to skip our breakout today, but we can include in the notes the link if folks want to respond to those questions on their own time. And then I think we will transition this conversation back to, I believe it's Cynthia or perhaps Anna, my apologies.
We're both covering the network improvement community. Thank you, Tammy. Thank you,
I
Lindsay.
just want to, Dr. Cornella and her colleagues, critique is a really great word, I think, to critique the institution from a perspective of improvement, transformation, breaking boundaries. I love all that vocabulary, and I thank you and Dr. Rocha, Dr. Romasanta for bringing those words to us, because I'd really like to sit with those from an institutional perspective to think about what that means at my institution. So thank you.
Okay, so Anna and I are going to spend a few moments here on the network improvement community. We also want to give you time to talk about resources that you think will be of benefit to you as we continue on this. So just bringing up this diagram quickly. The All Rise Alliance structure is actually set up to be a network improvement community. And we've just been talking about several concepts. The reason why I'm bringing this up again is because I just want to emphasize that this is something that we are looking at from a system perspective across the Alliance. It will be also looked at multiple levels, and that's what the next slide is all about. So basically, before we get into the multiple levels, just a quick definition of a network improvement community, emphasizing that not only does the structure of the community facilitate individual learning, but it also facilitates learning by groups. And this sharing and reflection on practice. It facilitates the learning across networked organizations. And these organizations are sharing common ideas to improve some of these wicked problems in education that Lindsay was referring to. They are also moving beyond the common ideas to actually testing whether these ideas are going to have any type of an impact and whether or not the improvements that we're looking to have are occurring. So that's an important concept of a network improvement community, which has also been applied to complex educational problems. And that's the context that we're talking about today and in the All Rise Alliance. And so Anna, I'd like to turn it over to you to speak to this.
Yeah, sure. So the All Rise Alliance will learn to gain through shared common ideas and to improve and also to test their solutions. So this will take place in 5 levels. That would be the individual, the single institution, the regional hub, All Rise Alliance, and overall the NSF includes network. So it's essential that we are de-siloing the work and while preserving the unique context in the matter. And it's pretty tricky. I'm just going to be honest, in higher ed for some reason. We usually kind of put off or not work with one another, one's domain or department. And we're always competitive for getting students on board or finding like the best students or so forth. And then we're also competitive with the funding. But overall, we will get into this more deeply and understand how it all works and how the learning is going to occur. Back to Cynthia.
Back to
Oh, back to me. Okay, awesome. Well, we will get into this a little bit more. Next time we'll talk about more details about how theory of improvement practices are. And throughout the 5 years of the All Rise Alliance, we will share and understand what learning and continuous improvement is and how we're going to be able to define it, go through it, and practice it in our work in our everyday. Next slide.
Okay, and we're skipping our breakout as well. And so I'll turn it over to Dr. Lopez at this point to bring home the discussion on the types of resources.
Oh, yes. So before we conclude the meeting, we wanted to pose this question for you and offer an opportunity for discussion. What types of resources can we create and compile to guide you in your education and in educating others? You can raise your hand, you can put it in the chat. So these resources can look like, I think Dr. Salazar had brought up podcasts at some stage, links to different articles. What types of resources would you like?
I think anything that speaks to, I'm sorry, was someone else? Okay, I think anything that speaks to not only the literature of the concepts, but how that literature is translated into practice, especially in higher education, to kind of bridge the gap with some tangible strategies. I think that would be really helpful, especially since that's kind of, for the hubs, not only the collaboration and the learning across our institutions, but to really implement, all the practices that we're discussing. So any kinds of resources that bridge that would be great. And then, yes, definitely podcasts, videos, and any like research briefs would be really helpful as well.
All right, those are really, really good. I think it's sometimes hard to conceptualize. You do a literature review and you see that everyone's doing all these amazing things. You're like, okay, and then what? How do I conceptualize this? How do I create a framework or apply the framework? So I think strategies that are informed by the literature would be a really good resource. So that's a good idea.
And Mora's got something in the chat here about models of experiential learning working in other HSIs.
Mm. And then
sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying I was taking notes on the slide. So Cynthia, if you refresh the slide, you'll see the notes. I'm collecting them there.
Okay.
And then I think it would be helpful for us to share the resources that we have, right, with one another and what tools we're using in our contexts with one another, so that we might be able to also collaborate and work together, right? So if you receive maybe an email requesting maybe something like that, don't be surprised. For now, I'd like to introduce or reintroduce
Dr. Lopez. I wanted to add one other resource I was thinking about. This is Maria.
Oh, hi, Maria.
We're embarking on large, big institutional work at our institutions and across institutions. And I think Dr. Roma Santa spoke about what that means for the boundary brokers or those that are in these spaces. And I'm wondering if there's any resources about what individuals who are doing this work at institutions face, or what support. Maybe there's models, maybe there's some type of publications that we can evaluate or look at that might talk about what it means to do this work at our institutions as personal agents at our colleges.
Oh, right. So not just sharing the examples, but having the success stories and the personal stories from the people who are implementing, as well as those who are participating.
It's not just stories. It's also, what are the resources that we can draw on? What are the things that we experience that we that are also endemic in the institution to the individuals doing the work.
Yes, I think that that's so important. I also want to share that doing this work sometimes can be very challenging and can have an emotional toll. You know, if there are boundaries to be broken, that means that we have to exhaust an additional effort to acquire success, and overcoming and breaking through those boundaries can be emotional. And so
Yes.
I think
Yes.
that creating a resource guide that attends to boundary brokering and the action and in the attempt to acquire success and student success, but also acknowledging that the process can be cumbersome, burdensome. We do it, we retain our why, but a resource that connects that component of it too, right?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
I have a question. I want to know how do I know I'm not a boundary broker? Like, I want to identify it with myself, you know? So I'd like a resource with that too, is you're going to give me a resource that's going to teach me, but how do I know I already have the skills that I can apply even more?
Dr. Lucy Ariano, do you want to share really quick, or did she hop off? Can't see, the boxes are so little.
I just threw it in the chat just for those who are still here. Just keep an eye out for an email. Hopefully later today or tomorrow, the latest, we'll send out a quick, couple question survey to keep feedback coming to continuously improve what the HSI3 team is putting together. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all very, very much. This is great. I just put a little note in there too. We're off to a great start. Thanks to the HSI3 team, really. This is great.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for this critical discussion, all the input, sharing, and all of us getting to know one another, taking that time was so, so, so important.